Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Resilient Riches. I have one of the biggest Jewish celebrities, I think probably in history, Julia Haart here, who is known for using her platform right now for fighting anti-Semitism and stepping up what she knows best, which is talking about fashion, which is talking about freedom, which is talking about independence, and which is talking about loyalty and deep loyalty to the Jewish community. Julia, we really appreciate you coming. We're really excited for this conversation. We have some tough questions for you, which I know you can handle.
Love it.
And we have some great questions for you. And I know what you've been doing is so powerful and so important that you've risked your life on the line to stand up for the people whose lives are on the line, which is the Jewish community.
So,
Julia, thank you so much for coming. And we're really excited. Can you give us a little bit of your background? Obviously, My Unorthodox Life was a huge hit and so many people saw it. But can you give us a little background about you? And then
I come from a community, as we all know, that, I would just say it's easiest to say I come from the 1800s. I'm a bit of a time traveler. I moved to the 21st century when I was 42. I grew up in a world where a woman's biology defines her destiny. And I came out at 42, started my own shoe brand a few months later. And within 11 years, built $1 billion business, sold a television show, wrote a best-selling novel. And now I'm sitting here fighting on behalf of the Jewish people and also have a new television show coming out that I'm not supposed to talk about yet.
You're not allowed to say the name.
No, can't. Sorry.
Which is okay.
But it's very exciting.
How did you go through all these different trajectories? How were you able to constantly, 42 is not normal to start a business. 42 is not normal to learn anything about business.
Or to completely change your life.
Yeah. Well, I tell this story a lot. But it's really, I kind of think it encapsulates everything. I'm not a big fan of zoos. I don't like things in cages, right? Liberty, freedom, those are big words for me. And my kids really wanted to go. So I took them, this is many, many years ago. I took them to the San Diego Zoo. And there was this animal. And the way that it works in the San Diego Zoo, so it's like all the animals are in a recreated habitat. So they're not in cages, right? So there's like enclosures that keep them in their area, but there's places for them to run and be wild and free. So I was like, okay, if we're going to go to a zoo, this is going to be the zoo. So we go there and we're in this little Jeep and we're driving by and he stops at I don't recall the name of the African elk. And he says that this animal can jump higher than any other animal in the animal kingdom. And so he tells us, find the fence that keeps them in place. These animals can jump higher than anyone else. Why are they still in their enclosure? Where's the fence? We look around. There's no gate. There's no fence. There's no wires. There's nothing. Finally, we all give up. And he points our attention to 4 telephone poles at the corners of the enclosure. Just long telephone poles. Connecting these 4 telephone poles is a half pipe. So imagine a circular pipe cut in half, shaped like a C. So connecting these 4 telephone poles is this giant C. These animals, in order to gauge the distance of their jump, the way that they train for it, the way that they do it is they look up, they figure out the distance, and then they jump. When they come to the edge of the enclosure, these animals look up and they see what they think is a ceiling, a half C. And so they never try to jump. There is no enclosure. There is no gate. There is no fence. It's completely mental. They think there's a ceiling, and so they never try to jump. And I think that pretty much sums up a lot of humanity. We think there's a ceiling, so we never try to jump. And when I saw that, I realized most of the impediments and roadblocks we face are the ones we create. And if we realize that it's all mental and we test ourselves, we will be massively shocked with what we're actually able to accomplish.
How are people first going down this journey of knowing that there really is no ceiling? We grew up that way as well. We were always told that you can do anything you want and you can accomplish anything. And my parents were even when in our hardest times, my parents were never, my mom and dad never once said to us, hey, maybe you should go get a job at JP Morgan or go get a job in a big bank. I always said, do whatever you're passionate with, even in the most challenging times. How are people able to know that there is no ceiling? And when do they know, when do they understand that something is blocking them?
Well, I think, it's all about self-knowledge and being an eternal student and really understanding what's holding you back. And, it's a bit scary to realize that you can do it. You can't blame it on anybody. You can't, hand it off or say, oh, but if I had better parents, if I had this or that. In the end, we're all responsible for our own lives. And the only way we're going to accomplish anything is if we know we can do it. That expression, you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's the reality. If you want to change your life, you have to change your life. And you have to know that it's going to come with bumps and bruises and difficulties and mistakes, and it is not going to be a smooth road. So what? Do it anyway.
We love that. But the only other part I would say is sometimes you need help for that as well. You need the support. You can't sometimes do it all by yourself.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of times you won't get support because when you try to change your life, you kind of knock the equilibrium of everyone around you. They're used to you being X. They don't like change. People are very uncomfortable with change. They're uncomfortable in the unknown. They're afraid of what they don't know. People don't like change. They just don't. It is medically and scientifically proven. It's a known fact. I'm sure it's not something you've never heard before. So when you make big changes, what you're going to find is very few people are going to support you. And so what I've learned is that if you can't be self-reliant and self-sufficient, it's not going to work. Your voice has to drown out everybody else's. Now, if you have help, great, you're blessed. But if you don't, that shouldn't stop you.
It's a level of independence and a level of freedom that you're talking about.
Exactly.
And
you have to be, and when I say self-sufficient and self-reliant, obviously, the more of a support system you have, the better off you are, the easier that road will be for you. But most people don't have that support system. And most people, when they do want to change, drastic changes, they meet a lot of resistance from their friends, but you've always been X. We don't want you to be Y.
I think what I'm thinking about is you got to find the right people that to support you. The ones that are going to encourage you, that are going to help you along that path and see your vision, share your vision, and help you with that vision.
But I think the most important person is you.
100%.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't go from within, then
it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
No, it has to come from you. It's not going to come from anybody else.
You have to be like Abraham, Me'ever Lanaha, right? You got to stand on your own 2 feet and do your thing, no matter what other people say, no matter how many people attack you. You have to be true to what you believe is right.
Which was exactly Abraham in that time.
I know. That's why I used it as an example.
I appreciate that.
I know you did.
Your years of yeshiva.
Don't forget, I was a Judaics teacher for over 20 years.
There's no question. We can have a shiur right now.
That's right.
You're having a shiur
right now.
And Yair is the recipient.
I'm finally getting some return from my yeshiva tuition that I paid the $20 billion it cost.
I'm paying way more than you. That's your choice. That is, by the way.
That's your choice.
Oh my God, I don't.
He's in the city.
I'll tell you.
He's in the city, and we were
ready. You ready? 3 hours and 45 minutes a day for a 2-year-old.
Okay.
28,500.
That's
8 months a year.
It's quality, not quantity.
Yes, insanity.
They said they extended us 15 minutes. My wife's like, oh, it's 3.5 hours. I go, it's not 3.5 hours. It's 3 hours and 45 minutes. That extra 15 minutes is like $1,000. Like, I'm not throwing away that 15 minutes.
We had a grandparents' mock Seder event, so we go there. This is like a production on Broadway. You're seeing with this, with everything they had there. This is like an impressive thing that they put on.
They're the real. They're the real deal. So once you find that inner power, once you find that inner strength, you can do anything. And we say that about finances as well. If you're somebody that went through financial struggles like we did, we realized when we went through, let's say, credit card debt and things like that, I realized that there is no limit. There is no ceiling. We can make anything that we want to make. We just have to be in the right environment. And the same thing as the African elk, as you were saying, if the African elk goes back into its habitat, all of a sudden it can jump as high as it can. But once you have that ceiling, you just need to switch your location. And there's a really great line, a Jewish line, and I'll educate you to Kofrim. I'll let your non-religious folk. But lachlif makom is lachlif mazal. If you switch your place, you switch your luck.
Makom, mishana mazal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
However, I think that doesn't necessarily mean, or my personal opinion is, it isn't about geographic. It's about
mindset.
Yourself.
I'm talking about
mindset.
I'm talking about I'm talking about a mindset when you switch your place, and I talk about the place in your head because that's really the most expensive real estate.
That's right.
You can change your mindset. You can be anything you ever want to be.
I could not agree more.
I wouldn't put you on my NBA team. I just wouldn't put you on my NBA team. I just want you to know, Julia, that you look taller in the show than you do in real life.
I am 5 feet tall. Actually, I was 5 feet half an inch. And I got my yearly checkup, and I have osteoporosis. So I actually shrunk half an inch. I'm at 5 feet. So my doctor was like, Julie, you have two choices. I'm like, I cannot shrink anymore. I'm 5 feet tall. I'm not going under 5 feet. And my doctor told me, well, Julie, you have two choices, Pilates or pills. I was like, I will take Pilates. So now I'm doing Pilates every week because I need to get stretched back out. So I am not losing any more
Are you
inches.
Back to 5 feet and a quarter
I started
inch?
literally a month ago.
All right.
At least I'm not losing anything.
It's better not to get measured next time, maybe.
No. Self-knowledge is key. Then I know how to fix it.
My mother had that. My mother had osteoporosis also.
Both my parents have it. And honestly, like if you're 6 feet tall and you have osteoporosis, I'm not sure it's as terrible as if you're 5 feet tall. Like if I go down to 4'9", I'm going to be like, so I'd like to stay at 5 feet.
I think you'll be even tougher.
Probably
at 4'9". You would have to compensate.
Tiny and mighty, but still, I'd still like to be 5 feet. I'll have to wear 9-inch heels. 7-inch heels.
You'll be like 80 pounds in your feet, but it's worth it. It's worth anything for fashion. Let me ask you a few questions about the show and about your history, and then I also really want to talk about what you're doing right now for the Jewish people and businesses, and how you're creating confidence for women and for people around the world that need confidence, and that's really the age of lack of confidence is right now. And you're fighting not only the Jewish fight, you're fighting also the fundamentalist fight, and you're also fighting the confidence fight, which is leading to significant suicides and significant mental health issues. So you're fighting it in 3 avenues, which is not easy for anybody. When we're talking about my unorthodox life, what was your thought on how people would portray the Jews going into the show? And what was the effect, in your opinion?
It's really beautiful. When the show came out, some people, predominantly from my community, accused me of being anti-Semitic and all this stuff, which I think at this point everyone can see that that's not the case. As I say on my show like 1,000 times, I think Judaism is beautiful. I could not be prouder to be a Jew. I will always fight for the Jewish people. And to me, this is me fighting for the Jewish people. My unorthodox life was me fighting for the Jewish people because I want women in my world to have self-autonomy, to have an ability to choose their life, not to all be forced into the same role of wife and mother. And it always has been and come from love. And I think, when people said, oh, it's anti-Semitic, it's going to make people not like Jews, my answer is really beautifully simple. I had an event at my house, a political event. I had governors and senators and all this stuff. And this woman comes over to me and she tells me, your show's changed my life. And thankfully, I hear that all the time, right? When I get stopped in the street, it's not like, oh my God, you're hot. It's, oh my gosh, I started a business because of your show. I left an abusive marriage because of your show. People stop me to tell me their stories. And right now, we have collected over 700,000 messages. One day I'll make it into a book of people who have shared their lives and the changes they've made because of the show. But this one was a new one for me. So she comes over and she tells me, Julia, your show really changed my life. And I expected her to say what everybody says. New job, new life, new business, new partner. She converted to Judaism.
Wow.
She became a Jew, went, studied, did the whole year, all of it through a frum Orthodox. I mean, not your version of Orthodoxy, not mine. Literally converted to Judaism because she said the ideals you showed on the show, the beauty that you showed, the pride you took. You know, she specifically pointed out to the episode where we do sukkahs. We talk about what it represents and all of that. She converted to Judaism because of my show. So to anyone who thinks it was anti-Semitic, talk to her. And then here's something else really beautiful. I don't want to name the person because I don't want to get them in trouble. A very, very big, famous person in the Hasidic world, who I'm sure you know. I knew who he was. I mean, I think everyone in the religious world knows who he is. He and his shamashim, his entourage, I guess, were at an event that I was on. And I see them coming towards me. I'm like, oh no, here we go. I'm going to get in trouble now. Like I figured it would be. This man comes over to me and he is truly a renowned human being in the religious world. And he comes to me in front of all his entourage, with probably at least 7 or 8 of them. And he's a tall man. So he looks down at me and he says, Ms. Haart, my wife and my daughters thank you. And he walked away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
everything I've done since I walked out the door has been to help the Jewish people. Whether it's the people in my community, I want them to have more freedom. I want them to have self-autonomy and self-determination. And now that the Jewish nation is under attack, now I'm going to fight with every ounce in my being to help the Jewish people.
It's amazing. And I do believe in that. And I do believe in independence and freedom and fighting for what you believe in. And
100%.
Not always will people portray what you did in the right way.
Correct. But I think now it's really hard to, I mean, I don't think anyone's calling me anti-Semitic now.
It'd be weird. No, there are some people that the Jews for Palestine, those ones will call you anti-Semitic because they're calling everybody's anti-Semitic. It's a wild, which is a wild
okay, but other than
group of people.
Tunes,
The Notoria Cardin.
People now understand, you know, it's actually very beautiful. Last night, for the first time in 11 years, I went to a bar mitzvah in my old community. I have like a few friends who still speak to me, 3 friends to be exact, who still speak to me from my, well, actually, no, I would say now 4, who speak to me from my old world. And I have people walking over to me saying, Julia, thank you so much. We get it now. We understand.
Yeah.
They get that there was never hate, never anger. That's never been my purpose. My purpose has always been, and it always will be, to help the Jewish people in every way that I can, to give people freedom and autonomy so that they can love God, love Hashem, keep the Torah to whatever level they want, but still have self-determination and autonomy in their life. That's all I want.
We had Eitan Chatayat on the podcast, and he says he's the I'm That Jew, great friend of mine that you know who I'm talking about. I think he did one for you. I'm still waiting for mine. He keeps saying he'll do it, but he hasn't done it yet. And he said, he goes, at my core, I'm a Jew. And I know that the Jews have freckles and we have warts, but we're really good people and we're loving people and we're kind people. And it's very hard for people to understand that because people are very surface level. They'll look at the warts, they'll look at the freckles. And if people don't understand where you came from with the show or where you come from with what you're doing today, then they can hate anything. Right.
And also, you know what? I always say, read the book because the show is my present based on my past. The book is my past. And when you read it, I don't think it's possible to say that there's not love of Judaism coming through everything I do because it is. I wouldn't be fighting for them if I didn't love them. I always, I think I started the book with, there are no villains in my story. There are only victims. I don't think there's any desire to harm or hurt. I think there's laws that have to go. And that's it.
I think the more sincere a person is for themselves, more in touch they are with who they are, gives them the ability to have a closer relationship with God.
Me too.
Instead of having fear, and there's a couple stories, but yet you won't let me say them.
They're long.
Different ideas about the same thing. I do an MDY. It's I don't know if you know, he's from Beit Shemesh. He gives the Daf Yomi. He talks about if your son wants to go to shul without a hat or without a shtreimel, that's his onik Shabbos. That's what he gets. That's what you should let him go ahead and do that. He has no problem saying it. You just let him do because that's what's important to him. So what, he doesn't go to shul with a hat and what, you're a little embarrassed? Get over it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had a complicated relationship with religion. I wouldn't say it's obviously not Judaism. You had a complicated relationship with religion. After October 7th, do you feel like you're coming back to a more religious life and more to your roots?
No. As I always
In and
say,
out.
I am a very, very proud and loud Jew. I will defend the Jewish people with everything I have and everything I am. I will never be a religious person. To me, religion is not, how do I say this politely? To me,
You could say it unpolitely.
I don't want to. I think there's enough hate and yelling going around, but to me,
we won't yell. We won't yell at you. Don't worry.
To me, the way that I explained it to myself is, did you ever hear of the theory of the adjacent possible?
No.
Okay. So the theory of the adjacent possible is a hypothesis utilized to explain why scientific inventions occur in clusters.
I've heard this, yes.
Okay. So historically, I don't think there's a single exception to this rule. All of a sudden, 5 people invent the same thing. 2 people invent the same thing, right? You've got Nicola Marconi in Italy inventing the telephone while Alexander Graham Bell's doing the same thing. You've got Tesla in Europe while Thomas Edison's inventing electricity. You've got the Gutenberg press.
Yeah, the same thing with the airplane, Wright brothers. Yeah.
All of them,
Yep.
right? And why is it that inventions occur in clusters? So the theory of the adjacent possible elucidates it. And basically what it says is we as human beings, our minds are only capable of imagining that which is adjacent to, next to our current possible. So someone in the year 600 couldn't imagine or invent a TV or even contemplate a TV because electricity hadn't been invented, olfactory lenses hadn't been invented, fiber optics hadn't been invented. So the minute those things were invented, all of a sudden everyone invents the television. So we can only conceive of a future that's close enough to our own to be recognizable. We as humans cannot fathom that which is too removed from our current normal. Okay. So let's just assume for a second, there's this huge, beautiful Hashem, God, whatever you want to call him, the universe, whatever, comes down to the earth and gives humanity the rules by which we live. And all of Western society is based on these rules, right? Don't kill, don't steal, honor your mother and your father, be kind, do charity works. I mean, this is what to me Judaism is, right? To me, Judaism are the core values that all of Western culture is based on.
100. It's the people of the book. They didn't say they have the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament's still there. Still there. The Quran it's people. It's the whole concept. It never left.
So Western culture is based on these concepts, right? These are eternal concepts.
Yeah, and God.
So then, why do the laws not work? How does that work? Because it was something that I really grappled with. Because on one hand, I think Judaism is so beautiful. There is so much inherent knowledge and beauty. And, I always tell people, on Halloween, you take candy. On Purim, you give candy. In our world, where do you get your Bill of Rights? Right? In America, you've got your Bill of Rights. Where do you learn your rights from in the Torah? Your Bill of Responsibilities. So the focus is always on what you owe to the world rather than what the world owes you.
Well,
there's just so much beauty there. So to me, what happens is human man, right, can only understand these massive global eternal concepts in a world that they lived in. Just like they couldn't imagine a television or an airplane when Moses got the Torah, they couldn't imagine a world where a woman could live on her own and not be in danger, where she didn't have to hide in a tent because marauders would get her or raiders or animals would eat her. We live in a very, very, very different world. And guess what? Torah law has changed with that, right? Men no longer marry multiple wives. You don't follow the law that if a man rapes a woman, he has to marry her. Those things were created in a time. Those things were created in a time where they made sense. But they don't make sense today. And the reason is these giant, beautiful, global, eternal concepts had to be extrapolated into laws that made sense in that world. Period. That's how I see it.
Let's move to what you're doing on activism for Judaism, for Jews, and I wouldn't even just say it's for the Jews; it's for humanity.
I love that you said that,
because that's been my whole slogan. It's like, be human. Like, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, just be a human being. Like, this is the whole debate.
Stop shooting at us.
Stop shooting people. How is anti-Semitism affecting you right now? And how do you feel we can solve this crisis?
Okay.
And I know it's a funny thing to ask people who are not necessarily political experts, but I find political experts have been failing forever. So why are they the experts if they kind of suck at their jobs?
Well, I just think it's everybody's responsibility.
I agree.
Politician or not, we are all responsible to save the soul of humanity, which is what I think is at risk today. So I kind of had an idea, and we have launched it, and I'm going to tell you about it because I think it's really the way to change the trajectory of what's going on. So in today's day and age right now, it's cool to hate Jews. It is really, literally, especially Gen Z and down, it is cool to hate Jewish people. It's in, right? The people who were fighting for, transgender rights, LGBTQA, people you expected to be our supporters because Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. These are the very people it is now cool to hate Jews. And how do you change that trajectory? Because if you don't, these young people who are sitting in colleges supporting Hamas and Iran, they're going to be the leaders 20 years from now. Imagine a world where these people are our leaders. It's terrifying. How do you change that? And the problem is we have all these stories. We have all this video. We have all this proof, women being mutilated, raped, atrocities committed that I can't know. They had to be drugged to do it. I mean, how can you be human and cut up a woman's genitalia while you rape her? I mean,
but they recorded themselves and they sent it themselves, so you can't deny it.
And not only did they video themselves, they are proud about it. There's that, they posted a kid in Hamas calling his parents,
look what I did.
Not Ima, sorry. Look what I did. I killed 10 Jews all by myself. Look, blood on my hands.
And the mother responds,
like,
also, yeah, you did a good job.
Good job, right? How do you combat that? So the problem is that we have so much proof and so many stories, but we keep telling them to ourselves. It's all of these stories, they're not getting out there. There's shadow banning, there's misinformation, there's propaganda. It's not reaching its targets. It's not working. We have all these stories. And so I realized, okay, what's missing? Why isn't this working? Like, how can human beings look at this and say, it's incomprehensible? Not only yay. They're literally cheering and marching and saying, we want October 7th to be every day. How do we combat that? So, the story, did you ever see the movie Dumb Money?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because that's going to make what I'm going to say next much easier. Okay. We are fighting two concurrent wars. One war is being fought on the ground in Israel. Mm-hmm. The other war is, as I say, for the soul of humanity. It's the rise of anti-Semitism across the globe. What did Dumb Money do? This kid in a basement basically decided that, the financial institutions were wrong about how they were valuing GameStop. And he started posting about it. And what's dumb money? Dumb money is the term that Wall Street uses for people who don't have a lot of money and they invest in the financial industry because they have no power, no money. It's called dumb money.
Yep.
So what does he do? He aggregates all of this dumb money. He takes one person who has $10, 2 people, 3 people. They use Robinhood as their source.
Yep.
And they topple Wall Street. Robinhood, that we find out later, is who's owned or funded by one of these big institutions, ends up shutting them down and then going to Congress to stop them because they gathered, unified, and toppled Wall Street.
Yep.
That's the power of aggregation. So I thought to myself, okay, just put that on the side for a second. What is an army? army is comprised of three things. Tell me, what's an army comprised of?
The people, the actual fighters,
So soldiers.
soldiers,
But also the training that they all are doing. They're following
Yeah.
the commands.
Soldiers and
They're going
training
to
and
follow
all that.
commands, and they're going to follow the orders
intelligence.
without question.
Okay, but still, there's soldiers.
There's intelligence,
Okay.
and then there's the people behind it.
Well, what do soldiers need?
They need weapons.
Weapons.
Okay.
So an army is comprised of weapons,
Mhm.
soldiers. You can't have an army without weapons and soldiers.
And
but we're missing the third part.
strategy.
Well, yes,
Direction.
strategy, direction, true. But I mean, any army in any situation. I'll give you an example. Why did Napoleon lose in Russia?
Tell us.
The supplies. I think the winter came in and they were destroyed with
That's
that.
correct.
Supply,
They didn't
supply
have-
chain.
They didn't have coats. That's why. They had more army, they had more soldiers, they had better weapons. They didn't have coats.
That's what my youngest son is doing now. Supply chain, by the way.
See, there you go.
It's a plug for him.
It's not supply chain, it's support. It's the support system. The beds that they sleep on, the coats that they wear, everything that protects them,
The food lines.
food, all of that. And the biggest part of that is the no man left behind philosophy. Every soldier knows when you're stuck behind enemy lines, your unit is going to come rescue you, right? If you've seen any war documentary ever, they always say, in the end, you're not fighting for your country, you're fighting for the person right next to you. That's how it works, right?
I've been in the army, so
Okay.
yes.
I went into Gaza, right? I think I'm the only person that they let in with an active unit inside Gaza, not to the tunnel.
No, we had Kosher Guru. Kosher Guru went in.
No. Lots of people went in, they went into the tunnels. It's basically become like almost a tour, right? A lot of people went in. As far as I know, and so far no one has corrected me, I'm the only person they let in into Gaza with an active unit that was clearing weapons out of people's
No,
houses.
Kosher Guru was there.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he did that with
cool.
Mossab.
We could check that. We'll
Yeah,
fact
check that
No,
out.
he sent me the
We'll
video.
fact check
I
that.
saw the
Yeah.
video.
Okay, cool.
He went with Mossab San Yusuf to not the tunnels,
Not
to
the
the
tunnels.
actually.
He was embedded.
Yeah,
He was embedded.
He shows the video. It was pretty cool.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know
cool.
how he
That's
finagled
good to
this.
know. Thank you,
So
because
there
I don't
you
want
go.
to say anything incorrect.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
he
good to
he
know.
finagled his way in there.
I love
He was
that.
like, "Yeah, I'm going to get you 1 million drones." He didn't deliver, but whatever.
Okay.
It's good at talking about
So-
kosher food.
While we were there, we were under attack, right? Probably like 500 feet away from me. 3 soldiers got shot. Within, I don't even think it was 3 seconds, a helicopter came and picked them up. I've never seen anything move faster than that. It was instantaneous. They get shot, helicopter comes. That's an army. An army is when the person knows that if I get shot, that helicopter is coming, right? There is one group of people in Israel who don't have that. Duvdevan, what people know
Yeah.
here as Fauda. Okay? Fauda, they go in
Yeah.
very often by themselves or in a small group. And if they're stuck, they're on their own. And most people don't last more than a year or two because not having that support system, not having that infrastructure, that's what gets you. So I started looking at social media like an army. We have the weapons. What are the weapons? The stories we're telling. All of the testimony of survivors, the testimony of first responders, the Hamas's own statements. We have the weapons and we have the soldiers. We have people like me and all the tens of thousands of people standing up who have an audience defending the Jewish people. But what's the first question everyone asks? Why isn't more of Hollywood defending? Why aren't more famous Jewish people doing it? Because right now, every Jewish person who's doing it is Duvdevan. They're on their own behind enemy lines, and they have no coats and no support. And most people can't do that. They are afraid. Social media is not a safe space to talk about Judaism, to talk about being pro-Israel, to being anti-terrorism. Right now, it's not safe. You'll lose followers. And when people say, they'll lose followers, what's the big deal? To these people who are staying silent on the sidelines, followers to them means jobs, careers, money. It's their entire entity of who they are. And they don't want to risk it to support the Jewish people. It's too scary for them. They would have to be Duvdevan.
I know people, just to interrupt, we've had close friends of ours, and we have a lot of clients who are influencers and things like that. Huge influencers, millions of followers. They are I even said to them, they want to come on the podcast, and some of them I've recorded already. And I said, like, we were talking, I was like, you have to wait. They're so scared. They're like, we're going to wait to release it.
See?
It's
That's what I'm
crazy.
talking
Celeb
about.
people with over 1 million followers,
doesn't
you would think
matter.
they're untouchable.
But
They're not.
They're not.
No one's untouchable.
So that's the thing. All of these famous Jewish people and allies of Jewish people who are famous are too afraid to speak up and tell the truth because it is unsafe on social media.
But they will lose followers. We've people that have done that. They have lost followers.
Well, there you go. The reason that they're afraid they're going to lose followers is because they see what's happening. You speak up on behalf of the Jewish people. Noah from Stranger Things says Zionism is cool or Zionism is sexy, and he loses 349,000 followers. Not only does that harm him, it prevents everyone else from coming forward and speaking. Again, it is not safe to stand up in allyship with the Jewish people. How do we change that? We're going to game stop it. What do I mean? Imagine if, so just let's use Israel as an example. There are 4.5 million, so there's 9.5 million people in Israel. We're going to subtract 5 million for ultra-Orthodox Jews that don't have social media, for people who are too young and too old. That leaves 4+ million social media users in Israel. Most of them are not wealthy people. Most of them do not have a lot of followers. And they're sitting at home and saying, how do we help? Now imagine if every one of these people signs on to one place. We call it Nation, AHM, nation.com. And we spelled it AHM because otherwise I was afraid everyone would say am. But as you know, in Hebrew means nation. And it doesn't just mean nation. It's the first part of a sentence we say in all dangers and all times, Am Yisrael Chai. We're going to live. We survive. And so Nation, the idea is very simple. It's so easy. It's such a dumb, no-brainer idea. However, those are the best ones. We're saying to people, sign up on Nation. There's 4.5 million people in Israel. I don't know how many Jews live in the United States and all over the world. Sign up. And every morning, starting June 12th, when we launch, we're going to put 3 names on that website. We're going to put 3 names on that Instagram page. And we ask every person who signed up to follow those 3 names. And this needs to become a habit. You wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you brush your teeth, you go on Nation, you press a button, you follow those 3 people. Now imagine if 500,000 people sign up. 1 million people. Noah gets attacked, loses 349,000 followers. We put Noah's name up on Nation. Noah wakes up the next morning with 2 million new followers.
Yeah, it would be incredible.
Game over. Game over. Because it will make it'll make social media a safe space to tell the truth, a safe space to stand up against terrorism, a safe space to stand up in allyship with the Jewish people. And the minute people see that, it's going to have 3 effects. Number one, for the people like me who are just like, we don't care if we lose followers. Too bad, we're going to do what we think is right. We're duvdevan. For us, it finally gives us some support. For the people who are standing on the sidelines, too afraid to speak up, they don't have to be afraid anymore. If someone comes and attacks them, no man left behind. Nation will come to the rescue and give them 1 million followers.
I would say even further, it gives people a concrete thing that they can, concrete action that they can do right away. Because, we've had these people on and they say, what you should do is follow these people and like them, comment on them. But this is actually going beyond that.
That's right. This is systematic and organized. This is the infrastructure. This is the support. This is the no man left behind. We are telling the world, if you stand up with the Jewish people and you're attacked, we will support you. We're going to be that helicopter.
We have your back.
We've got your back. It's safe now to tell the truth. It's safe now to come up and stand up against anti-Semitism. It's safe. And then what's going to happen? That's part 2. So now you've got all these famous people who've been silent. Now they're going to come out of the woodwork because it's safe. Then part 3 is going to happen. And that is all these teeny boppers who are screaming from the river to the sea, who are being invited by Iran and Yemen to go to university there, which should tell you everything you need to know. But okay.
I heard they have a great grad program in Yemen.
a good career path.
Yeah, great career
Yeah, you
path.
get free shipping.
All of a sudden, everybody is going to be eager to get on that page. So all of a sudden, you're going to get all these teeny boppers. They're going to see all the people they follow being like, yeah, so we learned a little bit more, and it's actually not cool to hate Jews and to burn them and kill them.
That's all herd. That's herd mentality.
It's herd mentality. It's so simple. And there's so many millions of people sitting at home wondering, how do I help? I don't have money. I don't have followers. I'm not famous. This is how you help.
Everybody has a keyboard.
3 seconds of your day. Make it literally a habit. Do it before you get out of the house. And if we can gather and aggregate enough people, and again, you know what 1 million aggregated people can do?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's game changing.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
GameStop.
And non-bot.
You're game stopping it.
It is literally a game changer.
We'd love to be part of it somehow.
But no, it's very simple. Go on the website, sign up, tell everyone you know.
Can we be one of the 3 people?
See, that's what everybody's going to ask us.
Well, we asked you first.
Probably not.
No,
we're probably not the first ones that have asked.
No, you aren't. But that's the beauty of this. The beauty of this is that
it was a soft no. But there's no ceiling. I didn't see any ceiling.
It's not a soft no. To the contrary, every day we will put up 3 names.
Good.
We're going to do it every single day. There's time for everybody to go up on that website.
I'll tell you who I really want, because we've been very vocal and we've lost real business because of this.
100% you're one of the people who goes up there. So I
appreciate that.
What I was trying to say was that's what you just said, that's just proof that it's going to work.
Oh, of course.
Because there are so many people who are out there fighting who are being hurt. I mean, I get death threats. I would say 2-3 times a day.
Yeah, we get I'm not as big as you, but I probably get once a week, like a real death threat.
And if you read some of the comments that people leave like openly on my page, obviously those aren't death threats. They're more like, you're an evil whore, blah, blah, it's all this kind of stuff. I'm a genocidal maniac. I'm being paid by Israel. I mean, the stuff I've heard, I'm like, gosh, I wish someone would pay me. That would be nice.
I mean, but that's really part of the problem, is that anybody can write whatever they want.
Exactly.
That's why it's scary to do that, because anybody can say whatever they want.
So that's the beauty of it, is that no matter what organization you are, if you're helping the Jewish people, Nation comes to your rescue. It's a feeder. It's the support system. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great idea.
You don't need money. You don't need to donate anything. You don't need to volunteer for anything.
It's also not too many followers a day. It's 3 followers.
It's 3 followers. But also the way we're going to do it is literally you can just click a link and it'll follow those 3 people.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, to me, the issue is getting the exposures for people to realize it's out there and to sign up.
That's what we need. Right now, what we need is as many people, because what we're really doing is we're starting a movement. We're building the infrastructure. We are asking people to create a new habit in their lives.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen overnight. And it only works if we all do it. It's so easy. It's so doable. It's such an incredible way to show that unity defeats hate. But the way to do it is we got to keep on talking about it. Every social media person needs to be advertising it. Every organization needs to be advertising it, because we will gift those followers to the people advertising.
You don't have to gift us the followers to the advertisement. We're happy to talk about it. Can you send us stuff?
I'm going to send you the full deck.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get involved and we can send to our people. We have a lot of
amazing.
We've gotten some incredible people that can also help and help brand and stuff like that.
I spoke to a Girl Scout, a boy and Girl Scouts group this weekend, and I told them about it, and there was 70, it was on Saturday. I did an event on Saturday and an event on Sunday. And the one that was a smaller group of people, they're the ones I spoke to about Nation. 70 kids. Within 24 hours, the next morning, those 70 kids told so many people that we had 1,749 new people join.
Yeah. We do a lot of speaking engagements, so we'll bring it up on our speaking
Bring it up everywhere.
It's great. It's perfect.
I'm telling you,
I love
it's
it.
a genius idea.
And I like what you said at the beginning. It's such a simple idea.
It is.
But yet,
this is all the inventions I've ever made, like Plus Body, what I've done here. It's always like that.
So let's talk. No, let's talk before we talk about Plus Body. I want to ask you, how do you build a resilient brand, and how do you build a resilient? Because your brand is not necessarily the fashion brand. Your brand is not the show. Your brand is not Nation. Your brand is you, and it's a very different brand than you're not. I don't view you as an influencer. I view you as a business owner. Very different than I view other influencers, because other of them are just influencers, and they're salespeople. That's how they fall.
I'm a businesswoman who happens to have a TV show.
Yeah, we're financial people that happen to have a podcast. That's really what it is. Exactly. It's a net negative of many negatives, and if you're looking for financial advisors, we're here to help.
Gotcha.
But the ultimate question for you is, how do you build a resilient brand like yours? Because you your brand, and I want to clarify what I mean by a resilient brand. You have gone through really tough challenges on your brand. First, building it, and I can give you a quick timeline that I could be wrong, but I'll do the best I can. You first built to $1 billion brand. You got hurt in that brand. You built a show. You got hurt in that show. You got married. You got hurt in that marriage. You got married again. You got hurt. How is it resilient? How did you build this brand that's resilient?
I'm a stubborn one, aren't I?
That's no question. But how do people and more action steps? How do people build this resilient brand, and how do people build their resilient riches, which is the name of the podcast, if you could see it?
So, as you've very aptly described, I've been through some challenges, to put it mildly. 2 years ago, I'd wake up every morning to be, first I was a con artist, a thief, a liar. I stole the car that I paid for. It was very interesting to read these things about you. It is a nice car, but I literally had documentation that I paid for it. Nobody cared. Like, it was wild. I built $1 billion business, and I woke up every morning to the most ludicrous accusations, which, by the way, 2 years, not one iota of documentation. Everything gets dropped. Every accusation gets dropped. Does that go in the press? No, of course not. However, I think that the way that I have stayed, as you said, resilient, is a complex answer. I would say number one is my goal is so intensely fire in my soul. No one's going to stop me. Not evil men, not haters, not difficulty. I know what I need to accomplish, and I am not going to stop until I get there. And when I have an impediment in my way, I work through it, I push through it, and I keep going. I will never let someone silence me. I will never let anyone stand in the way of what I think is my purpose in the world. And to your point of support, when I left the community, I did it alone. I had no support. I didn't know anyone in the outside world. I didn't tell anyone in the community. I was too afraid. I really did it on my own. This time, when I went through my next trials and tribulations, through the divorce and all the crazy accusations before the whistleblower came out, before everyone figured out it was all a lie, was threefold. My family, my kids are just,
Yeah, they look like they adore you and you adore them.
They're my rocks. They're my world. I don't know how to explain what they mean to me. And the way they stood by me and the way that they protected me and defended me and held me. It's mind blowing. And then the crazy thing that happened was that I made more friends then after all the attacks than I did before. And the friends that I've made are real because they befriended me when every day you would wake up to Julia Haart is a blank. Right? I think I got accused of everything but witchcraft, if I'm not mistaken. Although someone may have accused me of witchcraft, and I don't know yet. But so
I'm sure the witchcraft is on the menu.
I'm sure it's on the menu.
We'll find somebody. If you're missing that one.
I think I'm missing only that one. So let's
hold on for about a split second. You are the ones that attacked Hogwarts.
Exactly. So my friends, I made a birthday dinner last year. And there was around 28 people there. And I looked around the table, and I would say 24 of them were new friends, people who befriended me at the lowest point of my life. And so having them the last 2 years.
Do you feel this is the highest point in your life?
This?
Yeah.
Honey, I'm just getting started.
All right.
What are you talking about?
Of your life thus far. Of thus far.
No. You mean up till now?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Sure. Good. Every day I hope is a different, better day, and I hope it's a different, better Julia every day.
But those are the friends now you can count on for the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life.
And they can count on you.
Oh yes, I'm crazy loyal. That's the thing. And the other thing is, I would say, I discovered meditation. I started and ended last year in a war zone. I started off, I drove ambulances to Ukraine, to the front lines in Bakhmut in January of 2023. when Russia had knocked out the power and the mobile, yeah. So when I went into Ukraine in January, there was no heat, no power. In many places, obviously, it would come on, it would go off, back and forth. Almost no, cell service. And I drove an ambulance, British ambulances, because those were the cheapest ones. I was part of a group, and we all bought ambulances, and we drove them to the front lines with a bunch of equipment, medical supplies, so forth and so on. And I slept in the front lines with the soldiers. And missiles flying over my head, walking out of a building that gets bombed 3 seconds later. I mean, there were, I would say, 2 times where I was from death. It was
real.
intense.
It was
real. And then I went back a second time, and the hotel I stayed in, literally the whole hotel gets blown up, and whatever. It was a pretty intense experience, 2 of them. And I ended last year in a war zone in Gaza. And when I was in Bakhmut, when I was in Ukraine, I was with a person, a doctor, Dr. Joe DeBellis, who was so calm and so like, okay, so yeah, there's like literal missiles being, directed over our heads, and we're driving through, and you can literally hear the swoosh and it was crazy. And he told me that, he meditates, and it grounds him and he keeps him calm. And I started getting into that. And, what I love about it is it's science. It's not woo, it's not religion. It's just beautiful science. It's explainable. You can actually attach your brain while you're meditating to a machine, and you can actually see the differences that occur. It's pretty wild. And what it taught me is that I'm not a victim. I'm in control of my own destiny, and I get to choose. And I think that that's a very important message to people. It's scary to say that, because then it's your responsibility how your life comes out. However, it's also very empowering to say that. And once I realized that I'm not a victim, my husband tried to make me into a victim, but I'm not a victim, because I can change my life. I can choose my path. And I think that knowledge that if I want a different life, I have to just go and get it. That's what's kept me resilient, because I know that where, what does Winston Churchill say? A lie goes halfway around the world before truth has time to put its pants on, right? It's not easy to get the truth out. I knew that if I stayed the course and I said this truth, maybe it would take 2 years to get the truth out. But lo and behold, the truth has come out. Now everybody knows I didn't do any of those things he accused me of. You have to stay the course and recognize and remember and remind yourself that your life is in your hands.
It's deep. How do you look at money?
It's a means to an end. That simple. I want to create as many financially independent women as possible. I want to change the conversation around Judaism. I want to make the world a better place. I am a very stubborn person, and I'm going to do it. So in order to do it, I need money. That's how I see it.
So you have this new brand
Yes.
of yours on the next stage of your conquest, the Napoleon conquest.
No, not Napoleon.
Napoleon lost.
No, we don't do Napoleon. He lost.
He lost.
Who has won? Has anyone ever won?
Didn't have coats.
Who is the reigning supreme?
Jewish people that have been around for 5,000 years.
We're lingering. We're lingerers. No, we're not the conquerors. No, it's really not such a. The conquering business is not an everlasting business.
No.
So anybody who's trying to conquer us is just not everlasting. The lingering business, the nagging business, the Jewish nagging, that's a real conquest. You want to get into something that's really going to do it.
So that has real staying power.
So you're creating financially independent women. You're creating financially independent brands. You're creating all these other things that are changing the world. Tell us about your new clothing line.
So I'm really excited about this. So like everything else I do, they're not complicated. It's a dumb thing, but no one's done it. And so when I do it, everyone's like, oh, yeah, we should have done that. Why don't we think of that? So I started Plus Body because, everything I've done has always been about women, and now, of course, it's about women and Jews, the Jewish people, because now the Jewish people are in trouble. But I watched this movie, Bridget Jones's Diary.
Yeah,
Sure.
of
It's a
course.
great movie.
My dad likes chick flicks, just so you know.
I love chick flicks. So this
The second one wasn't so good. I thought the first one was
there was
much
a
better.
second one.
Yes.
There's a second one.
Yes.
Nobody told me there's a second
David
one.
Klyman will tell you, and he'll send you.
What?
He'll send you the DVD.
It's not as good. She's married, and then she gets pregnant.
Oh my gosh! I'm putting this on
I'm
my
shocked.
watch.
I'm
I can't believe I
shocked.
didn't know.
Sounds like you just watched
I
this
got
movie.
so
again.
into
No,
it.
just to keep it front
I
of
must
mind.
have seen it and put it in my back of my head.
Because it wasn't so good. It wasn't as good as the first one.
That's so funny. Well, I was obsessed with the first one. I read the book. And there's a scene in there where she's sitting on her bed and she's holding up shapewear, the granny panties. And she has to decide, does she put that on to go to the thing she was in
The
love
date.
with
She's
Hugh
going to the
Jackman?
date. She's going on the
Right. Does she
date.
put it on so she looks better in her dress so she gets the guy? But she can't bring him home. No woman wants to be caught dead in that, right? So she decides she's going to put it on. She goes to the party. She gets the guy. He comes home and she got drunk, so she forgot she was wearing the shapewear. And there is this cringe scene. She's on the floor and he's like, hey,
It was Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant. Not,
didn't I say Hugh Grant?
I thought you said Hugh Jackman.
I probably did. I'm terrible with names. But you're right. It's Hugh Grant. So
You ladies want to be
I
left
just
alone?
saw him in that.
Right.
I just saw him in that Jerry
Gag.
Seinfeld movie.
you are 100%
You
right.
want
It's
to
Hugh
gag
Grant.
about
And
you
and-
ladies?
I read the book too.
it's a great book. I read it while I was on an airplane.
You didn't bring
I
your
was
book. You should have
cackling.
brought us your book.
I will send you my book.
We appreciate it.
And so
We'll
she
send
brings
you
him
ours.
home,
I'm writing one now. We'll send you ours.
and she's on the floor and he's like, look at this naughty little dress. And then and these sexy little shoes. And then he gets to the shaper and he's like, oh my God. What? And he's playing with it in her face. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. What do women do when they wear shapewear? And someone's undressing them. No one wants to be seen in it. So I started investigating, why is shapewear so ugly? And it is. It's terribly ugly. It's beige, white, and black. And the reason for that is because shapewear is the most elasticated fabric in the world, right? Comes in a box like this, and you got to stretch it out, and it's supposed to suck you in. Now, I bring these Saint Laurent pants as an example. Where's your camera? Here?
Over there.
Okay. So these are fabulous Saint Laurent pants that I actually super love. And as you see, they have a very clear color and pattern. Oh, sorry.
I got you.
I'll
Don't
get
worry.
closer. Okay. Now, what happens when you stretch something that's dyed?
Rips.
Nope.
No, the color
That's
fades.
right.
The color
The
just
The color fades and the pattern.
You
Look at
lose it. You
Yeah.
lose the pattern.
Okay. Now,
Here, I'll hold these.
does this look like any shapewear you've ever seen in your life?
No,
It's colorful.
it's because my dad
patterned.
doesn't know what shapewear is.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Dad,
I really don't.
shapewear is things that women or men wear under clothing to suck themselves
This
in.
was for you.
Now, I want you
I
to
think
take
it's a
it.
little too small.
I want you to take the other end
Okay.
and stretch.
It's a QVC commercial. Don't.
I
You
work
see?
out.
Look at
Yeah, I see the color. The
Yeah,
color.
yeah,
color
it's
doesn't
the same.
budge. The pattern doesn't move.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's literally, you can stretch it from here to eternity. We changed the way that we put color into clothing
Wow.
Saved you.
so that it doesn't move.
Show us the red one. We got to test the
Okay.
red one.
Well, so that was our first collection. And it's done phenomenally well. We're going to be in a bunch of stores. We're going to announce that in a few weeks. We're going to be a bunch of stores all over
Check it out,
America.
everybody.
So we're really excited about it. But when we launched it, the complaint we got predominantly was it's too expensive. We want it. There's nothing else like it on the market, but it's not fair. It's too expensive.
Yeah, it's shapewear.
Right. So I spent probably 4 or 5 months trying to figure out how to make it less expensive. We literally had to change our system so that it wouldn't cost us so much to produce it. So the range here was from $78 to $198. The range of the second collection, the one that's coming to stores all over America, that one is $34 to $78.
Well, how much is the regular one, the one that Bridget Jones had? And then, like, how much is a regular? You go
Yeah.
to the store and you buy it. How much is
somewhere
that?
between it can range anywhere from like $35 to $200. So like you'll have Spanx that are $198. It just depends. It's a pretty big range.
But you could buy something for $35.
But you could buy something for
So-
$35. But this one, as opposed to the ones that you can buy for $30. So this one is our new ones. And the biggest thing that we got is we want clothing that's shapewear. We don't want to wear shapewear and then clothing. We want regular clothes, but that also have shapewear built in.
So what does that mean? That means the clothing you're wearing will taper you.
This is mine. I'm a tiny human. So for me, believe it or not, this covers the whole top of my body. But what this does is threefold. Number one, it sucks you in. Number two, it's a tank top. Number three, again, stretch from here to eternity. The color doesn't change. Nothing. Look at
You can do it.
It's a better test. Julia, leave it. Leave it for a second.
It's
Let me
fine.
test it with my dad. I want to test it with him.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You guys do it. I love it.
We got some power here.
Go for it.
We got to get my.
I mean, it's amazing.
Can we go more intense?
Go as intense. It's not going to go away. I mean, it's pretty wild.
It's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty wild.
Amazing.
So
It kind of reminds me of you. Tough as hell. And the color doesn't fade.
there you go. Oh, I like that.
Exactly. No matter how much you stretch it.
No matter how much you stretch it.
No
That's
matter
right.
how much. It's
You know,
resilient.
the
It's
Jews
resilience.
are like an egg, right? The more you boil us, the tougher we get.
That's right.
That's true.
There you go.
Very nice.
So we've created clothing, and not only is it, contouring, let's say, it's got the bra built in. So this is the first clothing
so
you
don't
can
have-
ever find
Yep.
that's not just sold by dress size, but by cup size.
Oh.
You can be a medium woman
And
with
you
a
don't have to
double D
double.
breast,
Oh.
or medium woman, a size medium with an A breast. Those are not the same bodies, but no one ever has done that. So what we've done is the bra is built in. And what makes it, I'm telling you, it's so crazy comfortable. I literally don't take it off. I love wearing them because they're just more comfortable than most tanks, and I don't have to wear a bra with it.
So that's
And there's no straps because you use the framework of the
support.
clothing for the support. The first thing every woman does, you guys are both married, your wife comes home, she gets undressed. The first thing is she unsnaps that bra and goes, because they're uncomfortable. Not anymore. This has no strap. It's crazy comfortable. It comes in your clothing size and your cup size.
But that's going to be like an inventory issue, because now you're going to have to come up with size.
We're almost sold out of this one. So far we haven't.
No. He's saying you're going to have to come up with so many specific sizes
Right.
We
and
have,
SKUs.
but that's my point. We've
You
done
have to have
that,
a lot of different SKUs, and you have to have a lot of specialized material, I think,
but we did.
which is hard bring down the cost per item.
That's why it took me 4 to 5 months.
That's the
because
challenge.
So the reason it was so
Interesting.
expensive in the beginning is exactly as you said. And also we have the largest size range. We go up to XXXL.
Well, your whole goal is to give women independence.
All women.
Then you can't leave anybody.
You can't leave anyone out. And I think all bodies are beautiful. I want all women to feel confident. I don't want anyone to ever feel ashamed. And so it's all the way up to XXXL, and it's, I think, up to an F cup, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a massive size range, and it's now literally less than half of what it cost. And, obviously we're very excited by it, because I think I want this to be mass. I don't want people to tell me, Julia, I wish I could afford this. This is something everyone should be able to afford. And we've worked really hard to streamline these processes so it doesn't cost us so much, so that we can pass on the savings.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah,
So I'm
it
really
sounds revolutionary.
excited. It is genuinely revolutionary.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Nothing like it exists. And I'm really excited to announce that we're going to do shapewear swimwear. So again,
I was
think
actually
about it.
thinking about that. What about swimming?
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense. Imagine a bathing suit that looks like a bathing suit. It feels like a bathing suit. You never know the difference, except it's going to suck you in. It's going to lift you up and hold you in
So
place.
I don't want you to exclude. My wife she was in Israel the other day, and it was she was getting the Hasidish bathing suit.
Yeah, the burqa.
So I don't want you to exclude.
Jewish burqa.
I don't want you to exclude any market.
I'm not sure I'm making any burqas yet, but you never know.
The Jewish
Never know.
burqas.
Jewish, non-Jewish. If I'm going to make them, I'm going to make them
it's
from
like it's got
everybody.
the whole hat. Everything's matching.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing, and it's expensive. It's not cheap.
Yeah. Let's start first with everybody, and then
Low demand.
We'll get into the
No,
niche
it's actually a high
markets.
demand.
No, I'm sure it's a huge
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and I have no problem with that. I just think let's start with the big market, and then we can go niche.
We-
Just saying, just throwing it out there.
Yeah. So we went through these values, and we had this moment. There's something that we call a defining moment in people's lives, that they go through such challenges, and they're able to use that as that moment that allows him to overpower and overcome other things. For me, it was making the decision to go into the Army that allowed me to create a unique path for myself. It was going through financial troubles. These were defining moments. What was your defining moment that why you left? And I understand the African elk was one of those moments that eye-opened you, but it wasn't a defining moment. And I hope not something that you believed on the show or on the book. What would be one of your defining moments?
But
you can say it in the book. Yeah. So then say in the book.
From, I think, it was a two-step process. My personal exodus was two-step because first I had to decide I wanted to leave. And then I actually had to walk out the door. Right. So those are two separate things. I decided I wanted to leave in my 30s. And I walked out the door at 42. First of all, I didn't know anything about the outside world. I was completely ignorant. So it took me 8 years to educate myself. I became a voracious reader. I read so many books that my kids, one went to Stanford and one went to Columbia, which unfortunately is not something I'm proud of anymore, sadly enough.
Went to Rutgers.
Oh my gosh. I used to be like, Stanford, Columbia. I'm like, oh, but okay. I would have them send me their reading lists every semester, and they have never sent me a book I hadn't already read. So I educated myself. My vocabulary is because I just read everything I could put my hands on. And as you know, I sold life insurance to make money so that when I would leave, I could take my kids with me and I would have money to do so. And I prepared. I did all of this stuff. But then you have to actually walk out the door. And that's terrifying because it is time travel. I didn't know anyone in the outside world. I didn't exist in the outside world. I'd never gone to prom. I'd never had a kiss in high school. I'd never gone to a bar. I knew nothing about the outside world. And it's too scary. It's just terrifying. And so the moment that I decided I wanted to leave was the moment that my daughter Miriam looked at my husband and asked him why she can't play soccer. And when he told her, it's because a man, you have to wear a skirt. And because you're wearing a skirt, a man walking by your field may see your knees, have inappropriate thoughts, therefore you can't play soccer. And however old she was at the time, she was 6, 5, 7, somewhere around there. My daughter looked at him and said, okay, if I'm responsible for his sins, is he responsible for mine?
A 6-year-old?
I don't even know if she was 6. Yeah, somewhere around 6, 7.
Her mom?
Yeah. And, I had been convinced that something was inherently wrong with me, that I wasn't okay with the world I lived in. Hearing it from the mouth of a 7-year-old, the just pure logic of it just doesn't make sense. It's wrong, period. Just wrong. Hearing it from her mouth made me realize it wasn't me. It was the laws. And that's what gave me permission to walk out the door. And then I had to walk out the door.
Yeah.
So there I am. I've planned it all. I've decided I'm doing it. I've got the money. I've got as much book knowledge as I can. It's still like, I always tell people but you watched movies and you read books. Yeah. The last 8 years before I left, I educated myself, no doubt. But I always say to people, imagine if you read 100 books about deep sea diving under 65 meters, which I think only 2,000 people in the world can do. And you watched 100 movies about deep sea diving. Can you deep sea dive? No. That's what it was like coming into the 21st century. I'd read about it, but deep sea diving, you got to actually do it in order to understand it.
It's very real.
So I was just too scared. I couldn't do it. And so my next plan became I was going to commit suicide. I was going to kill myself. And I didn't want to kill myself in a way that people would realize I killed myself, because then my kids wouldn't get good shidduchim. They wouldn't get good marriages. So I was like, okay, how do I kill myself without anybody realizing that I'm going to kill myself?
We know about good shidduchim
all about
and
that.
Disasters in personal life.
And you know all about that. So I decided I was going to starve myself to death, because then people would just think I have an eating disorder, which is like, she'll be, if the mom had an eating disorder, the daughter will just look skinny after her 11th baby. It's fine.
It's good plan.
It's okay. It's okay. So I figured if I killed myself by starvation, nobody would realize I had committed suicide. They'd just think I have an eating disorder, and therefore my kids could have good shidduchim. So I would say the week before I left, I was probably 3-4 pounds away from death. If I tell you how much I weighed, you would faint. You could see every bone. And I mean,
How much do you weigh?
I'm not going to say it out
I'm going to
loud,
hold it. I'll
but
hold it.
And what did your husband say about it all? Like, he sees it in front of him.
Nobody noticed. I was so invisible that nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. I was literally shrinking in front of everybody and nobody noticed. People were like, oh, she's always been skinny. That was basically Julia, she's just skinny. And I have always been skinny, right? So for me to lose the amount of weight I did,
it's a big percentage.
To put into context, I mean, you at that point you're probably still wearing a shaitel, you're wearing baggy clothes.
That's right.
So it's not
really
like
hard
it's not
to notice.
it's not so easy to notice.
Exactly. I'm covered, and I've always been thin, and people are just like, Julia's thin. That's all.
Yeah.
So people really didn't notice, which was good. And I was probably a few pounds away from.
Did you stop eating and drinking for?
I ate around 300 calories a day for almost a year.
That's a lot.
I literally purposefully, I wanted to go. I couldn't take there anymore. I was too scared to come here. And so to me, the easiest way out was death. And one day, but Miriam comes home. So the same Miriam who started my Exodus story is the same Miriam who actually gets me out the door. She comes home and she is hysterically crying. And as you know, we're tough cookies. We're not criers in our family. We're pretty tough. And I'd never seen her cry like that. And she was crying because her teacher had accused her of cheating because her paper was too good to be written by a girl. So someone must have helped her. And I literally packed my shit and walked out the door because that made me realize that I was being incredibly selfish.
Yeah.
That my killing myself would stop my pain, but she was going to be me. She was going to be me if I didn't walk out the door.
And you're going to leave all your children by themselves, on their own, to go through it themselves.
Exactly. And I realized I can't do that. I owe my children a different life. And look, Miriam is the youngest person in Stanford history to ever give a class. She gave a class on augmented reality as a freshman. This is a kid who hadn't ever seen a computer until she was 13 years old. The first time Miriam had a computer, she was 13, right? When I left, she was 13 years old. And so 5 years later, she's teaching a class on augmented reality. She's gay. Okay. Can you imagine what her life had been like if I stayed? She'd be married with 5 children to some guy. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So my children saved my life.
It's a beautiful thing. We did a test of 5 values, and it's our last question. We want to know. Actually, I have one more question, and in a short answer, what would be one beautiful thing that you would say about the community?
Oh my goodness, there's millions of beautiful things. But I'll tell you
your community that you were in.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about my community. But, so I always say the people in my community are the most they're beautiful people. I love them with literally all my heart. I will defend them and fight for them, even if they don't want me to. I still will.
Well, they need fighting and they need defending.
They need, I am going to do what I think is right out of love. And there's just no anger in my heart. There just isn't. And that's just the truth. And that's all there is. I'll give you one beautiful story about my community. My brother was killed when he was 5 years old.
Sorry.
He was killed in a car accident. And I have never seen anything so extraordinary in my life. The way every person in my community came over, literally everyone, without exception, everyone came. And it's not just like came and patted and said, oh, we're so sorry. They cooked. I will never forget. I had, it's like ingrained in my brain. I walked into my house one day and this very big, he was the CEO of some major company, was washing my parents' floors. My brother Yoni, who had tried to save my brother Yehuda. So basically what happened was my father was driving this van and the third row of the van had not properly been put in. And my brother was seatbelted into that seat. Oh. And the van skid over rain. And the seat, which had not properly been put in, got flown out of the car. And because my brother was seatbelted, he got pulled with it. And my other brother, who was in the row above him, realized what was happening and tried to unbuckle him and grab him to hold him. And he grabbed him so tightly that all the skin, so he got dragged with him a little bit. And so all the skin in his arms was taken off. I mean, it was just bone and muscle. It was terrifying. And he was, I think at the time, 9 or 10 years old. And so he was in the hospital with skin grafts and all this craziness while my parents are sitting Shiva at home because, they lost their son. So the only person to sit in the hospital with my brother was me. So I'm sitting Shiva in the hospital with my brother. And this man, a religious man who worked for, I think it was AT&T or Verizon, he was a big guy there, like a CFO or a CEO, something really big. He came every day, every single day on his way to work, every day to the hospital, sat with my brother, gave him toys, would come and bring me food. Like, who does that? These are powerful people who did menial tasks to help my family. And so there is so much beauty in my world. I love my community with all my heart. I want laws that don't belong here, that harm people, to change. That's all. But that comes from love. It really does.
It's a beautiful thing. You had one value. We went through 5 values. What do you remember what they were? Because I wrote them down if you need them.
I think definitely works of service and
I gotcha.
independence, loyalty,
family, loyalty, independence, integrity, and service.
There you go.
And what would be your number one? If you were to define yourself in one value.
Impossible.
Give me 2.
I can't. I'm
there was
a
no ceiling.
of many things.
3.
It's like I can't put myself in a box.
But
all
that was the game.
Matter.
If we told you the game was that you had to come up with the number one, you would have to come up with number one.
Okay.
That was the rule of the game.
Family.
Beautiful. That's got you through got you through everything.
Family's everything.
See, we boxed you in a pretty great box. Julia, how do people find you? How can people get
my
involved?
book is called Brazen. It's sold anywhere books are sold. I also narrate my own audiobook. So if you want to hear me tell my story, you can do that. I'm Julia Haart on Instagram and of course the Netflix show. And sign up to omnation.com, ahmnation.com or om.nation on Instagram. I do believe that if we band together, if we unify, we're going to change the entire trajectory of Instagram.
I think you're also changing the entire trajectory of life and image and everything, and you're fighting it. So
I'm trying. Thank you.
We really appreciate what you're doing. We love your passion. We love your causes. We love your energy. It's really exactly what we're doing. We're trying to change the trajectory of financial instability and insecurity around the world. And you
guys are cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
You
guys are really cool.
The real message that I hear from all of it is that you can do what you want to do if you decide.
You want to do
it. In your It's in your hands to do it.
That's it.
Just go ahead and do it.
And make mistakes. Fall apart. It's okay. That's part of the journey.
And it's the most fun. And write it down on the way.
Even though it's scary and things go up and down, you have those. My oldest son has a gym in Tenafly. It's written everywhere. Just do it.
And I love that. To me, what I always say is I focus on the dark the spaces in between. Everyone looks at what is. I look at what isn't. And that's been my success. Everything I've built, whether it's the shapewear brand or changing a model agency into a media conglomerate and changing the way that people advertise things and making it so that, advertising spend, which has never been considered working dollar because you can't quantify it or track it, now it becomes quantifiable and trackable. It was the first time in history that in a third quarter earning call, a CEO of Steve Madden, it was Steve Madden, that was my first big campaign before I got kicked out, was the first time in history, as far as I know, that a CEO attributed the highest traffic to his website and the most sales in the company's history to my campaign because it was quantifiable. You could actually see this is what we spent. This is what we got for it. So everything I've always done is go into an industry and see what isn't, not what is, and then go that way. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Get comfortable with the unknown. That's the way you do it.
And as the African elk says, there is no ceiling.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks for listening. Julia, thanks for coming.
Thank
We
you
really
so
appreciate
much.
what you're doing.
Thank
Keep it
you.
up.